Hey guys, welcome back to our lives across the border. Hope you guys are doing well today. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. Of course, like the video, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to ask the hubby some questions, do like a little interview about being deported and the process of it, and just different things like that. And then at the end, I'm going to share a few things as a person on the outside, trying to locate and deal with the situation on the outside, looking for your loved one that is being detained.
And the reason why is because of what's going on right now. So
right.
People can be informed and be educated, or at least have an idea.
Idea, yeah. So the first thing I want to ask you, and I want you to be honest, is when you were picked up, you knew that you were being deported out of the country that you have lived in for most of your life. How did you feel? Were you scared? Like, how did you feel?
Well, of course, I didn't want to leave the country because that's where my family is at, But the unknown is always going to get you a little bit off, I'm not going to say that I was scared or fearful, but I didn't know where I was going to go to, like what was my future going to be, right? And at the end of the day, I didn't know how the work conditions were over here, so all that stuff I was worried about. The stuff is you don't know, you don't know
the unknown.
Yeah, the unknown factor, that's what it is. But I don't think it was fear, just just going through the process. For me it was more like face, like, okay, now they got me, so what's the process of this? Now I'm on this detention center, what's the process of this? Instead of just thinking about, oh, okay, they picked me up, now what's gonna happen to me? It was not like that. At least that's not hard to think,
So when they did pick you up, how did they treat you? Were you cuffed? Were they polite? Were they rude? How did you feel you were being treated when they were detaining you?
Oh, when they picked me up, yeah, I was cuffed, and they took us to Fresno. So Fresno, they have like a detention center, and where they do the whole process. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have heard the term "don't sign nothing," right? So in this detention center in Fresno, in the city of Fresno, that's when they give you that paper, and usually the ICE agent asked me, "Hey man, do you want your process to go faster, or what's going on? Just sign those papers." And basically what you sign is just a waiver to see a judge. That's it.
Now, did they explain that to you?
Yeah, they explained to you.
They explained
yeah,
it to
it's
you.
just a waiver, And I think you get a phone call with somebody from ICE where they ask your information here and there, and they process to see what they're gonna do with you. Either they're gonna kick you out right there and then, or you have to actually see a judge. In my case, even though I signed the waiver, I still need to see a judge.
Okay, so how long were you in Fresno before you were transferred to where you were going to be held?
We were right there like for 6 hours. I remember being in a holding tank. I was right there with I believe it was like 2 other guys, and I was seeing people coming from the streets. You see them that they were working. So coming to the streets, you see their family and stuff like that, like saying goodbye, because you can see the door that takes you to the outside, right? And you see that they're dressed like with the wallets and stuff like that. So that's what I witnessed. And after that, they send us where they were gonna go. Either we were gonna be in a detention center, meaning in a prison, waiting to see a judge, or they were gonna send you down south. So you can get you're gonna be deported right there and then,
Okay. So once you got to where you were, which was in Delano, right? Was it Delano?
Delano.
No, McFarland.
McFarland.
It was in McFarland. How long before you got a phone call?
A phone call
to the family.
Well, the thing is that they put you in the holding tank, process you, where you come with, your property and stuff like that. Like they take a picture of you if you had tattoos or what was going on with you, right? They want all of that stuff, and so they can put you in the file. then after you're done with the process, which it took like at least like 4 hours or something like that. I remember I ate dinner right there, and they put you on the holy a pot. That's what it's called, it's pot, because it's a private prison. And once you go in there, I don't know if they give you a code to get a phone call, but I think I was able to make a phone call that same day.
Okay.
Yeah, I was able to make. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was the same day, which they give you some kind of tablets, and you do everything to the tablets. I don't think it was actually a phone like, hey, it was a tablet, and you were able to get money from your account and put it right there, and that's how you were able to make those calls, or more like a visit. That was like a FaceTime, right?
Okay. And another thing, like, I wonder, when you were there were people that had been there longer than you. They were fighting their cases.
Yes, I think the longest that I know of somebody being right there like a year and a half. And I mean, don't think that every time you're gonna go. I mean, don't think that your family members are gonna go through that. Sometimes they give you, how you say, when you pay for bail, and basically you can fight your case from the streets. They give you information. Once you see a judge, of course, he's gonna say, hey man, can I, bail out and stuff like that. And the judge is gonna decide whether you can do it or not. I'm pretty sure that it depends on the cases, on the record of that individual, if they want to actually let him out so he can fight his case from the streets. So not everybody was right there fighting their case. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have held out and they're fighting their case from the streets.
Do you feel that everybody there was treated the same way, the ones that were fighting their case versus the ones that were just waiting to be kicked out by the staff there?
Yes, I think it depends how long you've been right there. They'll move to different pots. So us that we just came in, it was basically like, we're gonna see the judge within, I think, 14 days or something like that. And it took a little bit more than 14 days. And then once you see the judge, you're gonna decide what's gonna happen with you. Either you wanna plead your case, fight it, or you want to say, you know what, I'm cool with this, let me out. It depends on the case. But I was there only for like 3 weeks. I think it was like 3 weeks until I see the judge, and then after that, like 4 days later, I got sent to Mexico. But I don't know what happened with the individuals who actually decide to stay back and fight their case.
And can they get visitors in there?
I didn't see no visits, but I don't think they're allowed to have visits. At least when I was right there, I don't think they were allowed to have visits, but you can do FaceTime.
Do video, yeah.
They had a visiting room. They did have a visiting room, and you know what? Possibly, maybe for those individuals who were right there for the longest, I'm pretty sure they had visited. Why? Because they had a vending machine. I went to the visiting room because I see my agent, the one who's gonna be in charge of my case. So before you see the judge, you're gonna talk to a next agent. They're gonna pull you out and basically tell you, hey man, look, this is what's gonna happen, whatever, and then you have to sign whatever papers to basically say that you got served with whatever your case.
Okay.
So I remember going to the visiting room, and there was food in the vending machine. So I'm assuming that they actually have visits.
That would make sense. Yeah.
So I never seen nobody going to a visit, but I'm pretty sure that other individuals from the different pots, they went to the visit. Those guys who were fighting their case for the longest.
So speaking of food, what do they feed you in there? Do you get 3 hot meals? Does it fill you up? Does it taste good? How's the food there?
The food, and I don't even remember the food, but it was like basically prison food.
Okay.
But they give you 2 hot meals and a sack lunch.
And a sack lunch.
I think that's what it was. 2 hot meals and a sack lunch. If I'm not. Oh, you know what? I didn't think they give you a sack lunch. They actually give you 3 hot meals. I think.
3 hot meals.
I think so.
Nice.
I think so.
Okay.
Private prison, they give you 3 hot meals.
Okay.
I think so. But they had alright food. The thing, they had microwaves. Yeah, the store canteen there was a little bit different than what I was used to, but it was, of course, something different for me.
So when you went in, you already had money with you, so you were able to purchase things.
Yes. So if you got money with you, they're gonna put it in your account, you know, and the way to access, I'm pretty sure they give you like a code, right? They give you a code, and that code they're gonna give it to you once you get processed. You know, that man, this is your code. If you wanna get to your money, so you can make your purchases, so you can log into the tablet, and then from the tablet, that's where you order your canteen, your phone calls, your FaceTimes, all that stuff. You do that. Now you can also watch movies and do all kinds of different stuff with the tablet. The thing about that is that I didn't like is that it was like an open. It was not sales. It was almost like a gym. So everybody, they had all kinds of beds, like in an open space, and they just have beds back to back, like like rows and rows.
How many people do you think were in there with you in that pod?
You know what? There was not that many because of that whole COVID thing.
Oh yeah.
When I was right there, it was with the whole COVID. So when I got there, they have moved a lot of people, and the guys who were right there before me said this used to be full at one point, but they started moving everybody because of the COVID. So as I was getting ready to leave, that thing was getting packed up.
Filling up again. So when you did see the judge, what was like the process? Was it just a couple of questions? Did they explain anything?
Yeah, well, the judge, how we seen it is through a video call, let's say.
Oh.
So it tells you don't see them in person. Or at least that was not my experience. They just read your case. Okay, this is what happened. This is what why you're gonna be deported, and they ask you, are you willing, or you want to fight for your case, or you want to be removed from the U.S. My answer was, I want to be removed. I don't want to fight for my case. You know, a lot of people, they do fight for their cases, and I don't know if sometimes they stay right there for months to fight, maybe years, but sometimes they don't win it. So I felt like it was just extra time. You know, pointless. If you already know you're gonna get deported, like why are you even fighting?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So then, did they tell you, okay, you want to go? They tell you when you're leaving that day, or when did you find out when you were leaving? The day of, or?
They tell you the day of.
The day of.
Okay. You already have an idea. They say, okay, you know what? Every Tuesday, they're coming for individuals. You went to court. Maybe you get to court on a Thursday, on a Friday. Every Tuesday, they come for individuals. Pick them up and send them to Mexico or whatever they're gonna send them to. You know.
Did they tell you where you were going? Like, did you know that where you were being dropped off at?
Oh no, man! That was a big mistake from our parts. Everybody thought that from McFarland, from that institution, they were gonna send us straight to downtown LA, but that was not the case. We actually went to Bakersfield, waiting for another bus. I'm assuming that it comes from different institutions like Fresno, and where those individuals need to be deported. So we were waiting for those guys, and we waited. We left McFarland in the morning. It was probably like 10, 9. I thought I was gonna get kicked out that same day, or at least the following morning. But no, I ended up staying in what's it called, in Bakersfield all night. You know, it was all night. It was all night, and then eventually we moved. Once everybody got there, like around 12, 1 in the morning, we ended up going to downtown LA. It was like a long waiting with no phone calls. There was no phone calls. At least when I was right there, the phones were not working. I don't know. I heard other individuals talking about this and saying that the phones were working, but in my experience, they were not working. And that's when they get your fingerprints, make sure they process everything with you, and they get information. They don't take pictures no more because they already got me on file.
So when you left Bakersfield and then you guys went to LA, did you know you were going to TJ? Did you know like where in Mexico they were going to drop you off at?
No, they don't tell you.
They don't tell you till you get there.
Yeah, they don't
it's
tell
like,
you.
Surprise, here you are.
Yeah. So most of I heard people getting dropped off in Mexicali, but nobody knew nothing, right? It's not, and they're not gonna tell you. Eventually, they just drive, and then eventually, as you see them going through whatever freeway can only imagine, okay, they're gonna go to
Yeah.
TJ, right? They don't give you that information.
So he was lucky because you know the area. Some people might not know the area so well, so you kind of had an idea of where you were going.
Yeah, yeah.
And then once you were dropped off in TJ, what do they do?
On TJ, okay, well, once you get dropped off in TJ, you're gonna go through a little another process, in where they're gonna give you information. They're gonna ask you, okay, well, where were you born, stuff like that. And it's not like they verify this information. You can say whatever, right? They're gonna ask you why the reason you were deported, and that's it. They just give you the information and they let you go. You know, that's about it.
And then you just walk through a gate, and all of a sudden you're in TJ.
So usually what happened is that my family left. They packed it with a phone because I didn't have a phone with me, so they left the phone. And once I went to actually, as a matter of fact, once I was dropped off at TJ, they gave me all my property, and where I can use the phone and stuff like that. And then from right there, you can do whatever you want. You know.
So what about the money that you had on your account over there? They just cash that out to you. They give it to you before you get on the bus, or when you're now at TJ, the money that you would have left over from your account.
They'll give it to you before you leave the institution. So McFarland already had the money with me in cash. You know, and they'll give it, so you're basically on the whole tank with their money, with the cash money in your pocket, and then just waiting to go get deported. Go to downtown LA, and then from right there to TJ. You know.
Anything else that you think is important to share about your experience being in ICE and the deportation process?
So the thing about the signing those papers, right, is simple. You know, I was told, okay, if you sign those papers, they're gonna kick you out ASAP. No, it doesn't work like that. It depends on your case. So somebody like me who was a resident, I have to see Judge Mando. I have to actually go and see a judge and basically denounce my papers. Here, you know what? I don't want to fight for my papers. So that's why, because I signed those papers, they're not gonna kick me out. So at the end of the day, it didn't matter if I signed it or not. You know, I still see a judge. Now, for those individuals who don't have papers and they signed, they probably get deported right there and then. Now, if you were deported at one point, you came back after they told you, you know what, you cannot come to the U.S. for 5 years, 10, 20, whatever, right? You come back, sometimes you have to see a judge. Why? Because they're going to give you some time, some federal time because of the cost.
Okay.
So again, you can sign those papers, but it doesn't mean that it's going to follow through, because you possibly might see a judge. You can maybe slip through the cracks, but who knows, right?
Alrighty, so I just wanted to add a couple things quickly, as being the person on the outside, that family member who is waiting for their family member to be deported. So once he was detained and in the ICE center, you know, we did get that phone call to let us know where he was at. We had assumed that he had been picked up, but if you don't know exactly how their name is going to be entered into the system, finding them is difficult. So if they've got two last names, if they're going to use a hyphen, if they're not going to use a full name, whatever, you know, you have to remember when you're showing up, you don't have an ID, so whatever they're going to give them is the name that they're going to be under. So that was the first thing, was I was not able to find him in the system until I was asking him, you know, well, actually I asked him what his number was, because they will give them identification number, and then that is how you can look them up and see that they're still in custody. So I do remember him seeing the judge, and that was on a Thursday, and then on a Friday he called about 9 in the morning and said we're leaving around lunchtime. So we packed up. We had about an 8-hour drive, and we got down here, and it was probably about 9 o'clock when we were just hitting San Diego. We were assuming he was going to TJ. We didn't know that. Okay, so if you remember, we were just assuming that is where he was going to be deported. So we didn't want to cross in to TJ until, because we knew he had a phone, we had actually gone and dropped off a box of some clothes for him to wear, and he charged his cell phone because he did not have those items when he was detained. Okay, so but we hadn't heard from him. So when we were looking online into the ICE, their like online system, yeah, where you can see if your loved one is in there, he was no longer in there. And so that was a panic for us because we knew that we had not heard from him. We hadn't seen any buses, and we had actually asked people that were near the border, like, have you seen any buses? Do you know what the buses look like? And people said, oh, sometimes they drop them off here, sometimes they drop them off there. And as that family member, you're just like, oh my gosh, where are they? You know? So I ended up calling McFarland, and it was a lady officer, and she was telling me that she could not give me any information for security reasons, which makes sense. But she kept telling me to refer to their online system. But I kept telling her, he's not in there anymore, and the last we heard, he was with you guys. So can you let me know if you dropped him off? And she could not give me that information, and it was very, very frustrating, very frustrating. So it turns out, like he said, he went from Bakersfield to LA. When he did get to LA at like 3 in the morning, he finally had called and said, I will be there. We're leaving in a couple of hours. We'll be there in the morning. And so that was exactly what happened. We got a hotel, we stayed, and then we waited for that phone call when he had crossed over, and we were able to pick him up. If you've never been to TJ, good luck. It was very difficult finding him and very frustrating because if you've never driven there, it's wild, and sometimes your Google Maps doesn't stay up with the speed that you're going. No joke. We got lost quite a few times, so we actually ended up having him go to like a mall, to take a taxi to a mall, and it was easier to pick him up there than so close right at the border. So that was his experience. My experience. Any other things you want to add?
Okay, so when she was talking about that she called McFarland, I was no longer in the system, right? So basically no longer in custody. I still was under custody, but I was no longer a detainee or no longer had a number. You know, even though I still was detained by them, I was nowhere to be found. So I think in my experience, the thing that messed it up is because those phones didn't work. They didn't give us they didn't give us a phone call. So that was that big loop of basically where I'm at. You know, from 10 in the morning all the way to 3 in the morning. 10 in the morning one day to the following day.
Yeah, no communication. There was no communication. So, and of course we were just so excited. So it was a long hours of waiting. So
yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah. But here you are.
Yeah.
We made it. So anyways, if you guys have any questions, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. Know you're there. Of course, make sure you subscribe if you have not subscribed. And of course, like and share the video.
This information is just so you guys can know the process, what to expect, what to do. One thing I had an issue with is that they were telling you, oh, you cannot send you a selfie. That was a big deal right there in INS. They cannot send you a phone. And other people were like, yes, you can. And I got my phone. Even though other people were saying, I mean, the cops were telling other people, or the ones in charge with the property were telling other people, do not send phones, you know. And I don't know, it was weird. It was weird because they were telling you not to do one thing, and you'll do it, and you still get your property.
And make sure if you are going to drop off a cell phone, like we had it charged.
Yes.
Because they're not going to open it and charge it for you.
Yeah,
so you want to make sure you bring it charged and, of course, turn it off.
So that's it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. So you know what to do. Drop those comments, like the video, and subscribe if you have not. Bye.
Bye.